The first fear that came upon Adam was the fear of death. He said that he was afraid because he was naked. What does nakedness symbolize? It reminded him that he had violated the word of the Lord. Why was he afraid then? If he violated the word of the Lord, he would have to die. Therefore, he feared death. Adam's audacity, false boldness, led him to commit sin by disobeying the word of the Lord in the Garden of Eden. Subsequently, his fear prompted, or rather compelled, him to commit even more sins. The fear arising from disobeying God's word drove him away and made him run from his presence. When we look at this, if a person commits sin and lives in disobedience, they experience both a reckless boldness and a binding fear. That is how Adam acted. First came the reckless boldness, followed by fear. The boldness to eat the fruit came through the serpent's words. The fear of death came from the word of the Lord. Therefore, it is the word that governs a human being's emotions. It is through the word that man possesses emotion and sensitivity. The root cause of all human errors, sins, and transgressions is fear. Fear stands as the foundational root. Initially, there was no death in the human body. There was only life. Man was created solely as a living being. Death entered into him only afterward. Thus, our body was not created for death, but rather for immortality. Death is like a thorn that has pierced our body. In the mind and purpose of our God, He created our body to be immortal. To allow death to rule over the immortal body given by God, or to yield it up, is the same as yielding oneself to commit sin. First, there was holiness. Only after that did sin enter. First, there was light. Only after that came darkness. When something leading to death enters our body, doctors treat it so that the body is delivered and escapes from death. Our bodily organs also assist in this process. If our body desires to live a deathless life, the cells of our body will renew themselves. The true desire of our body's cells, its DNA and its soul, is not to choose death, but to choose life. The fear of death is a scheme, tactic, of the devil. Immortality is the divine thought and intent of the Creator. Just as God created you to be holy, He created your body to be immortal. You must give the same importance to immortality as you do to holiness. Who told you that you were naked? Who convinced you that you were a sinner? Who made you believe that you were a sinner? Have you eaten from the tree that was forbidden? The fruit of the forbidden tree is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Good represents life, evil represents death. This fruit represents the law. According to the law, if you do good, you have life. If you do evil, you have death. Jesus Christ on the cross, through His death on the cross and His resurrection, the forbidden fruit, which is the law, has been dealt with. Do not eat of the forbidden fruit. Who made you believe that you are a sinner? Did you eat from the fruit that was forbidden to eat? Did you eat the fruit of Mount Sinai? The fruit you ought to eat is the fruit of Mount Calvary. To eat means to believe. When you refuse to accept your mistakes and instead place the blame on others, even if it may be true, by blaming others, you lose your true courage. Out of fear, you will try to commit another wrong just to hide your initial mistake. Instead of staying where you ought to be, you will go and hide in places where you should not be. Your fear of death will make you abandon your life and hide behind your shame, honor, pride, and self-respect. Before eating the fruit in the middle of the garden, the sound of God walking in the garden in the cool of the day was delightful and brought life. However, after boldly eating that fruit, hearing the sound of God walking felt like death. The reason Adam was afraid was that he realized he was naked. He felt his nakedness. Someone taught him that he was naked, and he believed it. That was the cause of his fear. The cause of your fear of death is knowing and believing that you are naked. The voice that asks, "Who told you that you were naked?" is God's voice speaking against death. If you use your time for both good and evil, you are still under the law. That means you are continuing to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. In other words, you have not been fully set free from being under the law, because in the tree of life there is only life. There is no death there. To be delivered from the fear of death, use your time, your wealth, and your love only for good. Do only what is good. If you use your mobile phone for both good and evil, you are eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That means you are under the law, not under grace. not under the new covenant brought by the cross of Jesus Christ. If your eyes, ears, mouth, feet, hands, and all your limbs perform both good and evil, you are still eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, along with Adam and Eve. You are under the law. In the fruit of the tree of life, there is only goodness and only life. You still. This is not said to condemn you. The devil's tactic is to keep you satisfied where you are and prevent you from attaining glory upon glory. Attaining that glory upon glory is immortality.